It's Monday. It's basketball season. It's Birmingham, Alabama. So that means it's time for the Greater Birmingham Tip-Off Club to come to order. Welcome, y'all. Thank you for coming. Glad y'all here. I need to lean in. It is so good to have all y'all here today and be part of this meeting. As president, I'm supposed to be nonpartisan. I do my best on that, but as a UAB alum and everybody in my family having at least one degree from UAB, I do bleed green and gold. So this is kind of a special time. So it's a wonderful for us to be here. Got a few little things I want to talk about. Over the last week, one of our former usual guest speakers passed away. Billy Packer passed away, legendary player, coach, announcer. And I was telling a couple people, he would always make me mad of being an ACC homer, but I always liked him. Also want to recognize we have Mark Ingram, the AD for UAB. Go Blazers. Our front table, our head table is the coach of Vestavia, Patrick Davis, his player of the week, Wynn Miller, the aforesaid Coach Andy Kennedy, Kevin Skarbinski, who once again is trying to get as close to the deadline as possible. We have Jim Conrad back this week. Let's all. We have Wade Kaiser, who will be giving the Player of the Week award with great trepidation that someone at Vestavia scored more than him. And we have Alan Chappelle, who will be giving the invocation and pledge. I did want to point out a couple of things. Next week, we will not be meeting. We will meet on the 20th of February. And this is an incredible meeting. Mark, Andy, y'all might want to show up, do a little politicking. We have 3 members of the selection committee here that day. We have Vice Chair Charles McClellan of the SWAC. We have Greg Byrne, Athletic Director at Alabama, and Martin Newton Sanford. So they're all 3 going to be here talking about the NCAA tournament. And I am really looking forward to that. I don't think anybody in the country has that many people from the selection committee. If memory serves, there's like 10, so we're only about 2 away from a quorum of that group. So if you know anybody who can come, that'd be neat to have a quorum and actually have them decide something while they're sitting here. We will be announcing some more programs coming up. Dick Coffey and friends are really hustling, putting together our next 3 meetings. I want to make an announcement. If you have not joined, we're going to have a pro rata rate that if you join today, join this week, you will be charged half of the membership fee. So if you've not joined, you got no excuse now. It's kind of like the blue light special at Kmart for folks who remember that. So we really want you to do that and be a full dues paying member and be a continuing supporter of this club that I think has made such a wonderful comeback in the last couple of years. So Alan Chappelle, if you will please come forward for the invocation and the pledge. And he brought a copy of the pledge, so smart man.
After last week, the speaker scared the stew out of me about remembering the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just have so much to be thankful for in this country. We are so blessed. We thank you for this club. We thank you for the leadership in this club. We thank you for the food and those that prepared it and served it today. We thank you for these coaches that give so much to these young men and women from a leadership perspective, and we're so thankful for them. And we're thankful for the players and the abilities that you've given to them and the willingness to work hard to develop the talents that you've blessed them with. And so at this time, we just pause and honor you and glorify you in your name and ask you to bless this food, our bodies, and us, our service. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Let's stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before I introduce Kevin, who once again shows the most amazing timing of anybody in showbiz, I'd like to ask Daniel Smith of Knight Eady to come up for a minute. He's going to talk to us about a volunteer opportunity for the tournaments coming up.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for the time this morning. My name is Daniel Smith. I serve as the tournament director for the Alabama High School Athletic Association's high school basketball tournament. This year's event will be Monday, February 27th through Saturday, March the 4th. This year, we will once again be inside the renovated Legacy Arena, which is always, it was great to be back in Legacy this past year. In 2022 after the renovations, and just being able to provide that experience for these student athletes, Coach Davis and the rest of the high school coaches is always an honor for us. And I just want to first off by saying thank you to Red, Jimmy, and Hunter Strickler for kind of leading some efforts on some of the volunteer pieces that we've had in the past. And also to Dick Coffey, who's kind of leading the charge on our team host side of things. Really appreciate the time and the effort that they put into this. And so for anybody who's wanting to volunteer for this year's tournament, you can reach out to myself, Red, Jimmy, Hunter Strickler, any of the guys, or Dick Coffey, who may be able to help you kind of point you in the right direction as well. But this year we will be kind of celebrating 30 years of having the tournament in Birmingham at the BJCC. So it's a really, really neat opportunity to bring both the boys and the girls championships to one venue all in the same week. We were really thrilled to be able to continue to do that for our student athletes here in the state. And so I want to thank the Tip-Off Club for their support and for those individuals who kind of make it happen. So thank you very much.
So it's my pleasure to introduce somebody who needs no introduction, so I'm going to introduce him. Kevin Skarbetsky, as we all know, he's been doing a great job emceeing for us, and his writing for basketball and other sports has always been one of my favorite things to read, and his love of this community and love of the game comes out in every pore of his body. So Kevin Skarbetsky, take the helm.
Thank you, Scotty. I try not to waste any time. That's why I zoom in here right at the last minute. I don't know who needs to hear this. Probably nobody in this room, but you have friends so you can help spread the word. Some of those friends may be known as fogs. Now, you do know what a fog is, right? You know there are fans of the University of Alabama who don't really know or care that Alabama plays any sports other than football. Hence, their fellow Crimson Tide fans call them fogs or football-only gumps. Okay? I didn't come up with that, but I'm glad to use it. So let me give you a little bit of a fog alert this morning, if you will, to share with your friends. A year ago in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, Kansas played Kentucky in Fog Allen Fieldhouse, and Kansas lost by 18. Anybody know what happened to that Kansas team? How'd their season turn out? They won the national championship. In 2016, Villanova lost to Oklahoma. Sound familiar? In Hawaii on Pearl Harbor Day by 23 points. How'd that season end up for the Sooners? We don't know about that, but how'd that season end up for the Villanova Wildcats? They won the national championship. In 2014, on the last day of the regular season, UConn went to Louisville. They got beat by 33 points. That probably ended their season, right? Wrong. The Huskies went on and won the national championship. Now, why do I say that? just in case you're an Auburn fan or you're a UAB fan or you're just not an Alabama fan and you're enjoying the fact that Alabama went to Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday and got beat badly, just wanted you to know a few things. Tap the brakes, check the calendar, know the facts. This ain't football and this ain't March. A lot of basketball left to go. Let's go to the highlights.
Right now on the Birmingham Tip-Off Club, the beat goes on in college hoops as we wrap up the final weekend of January. Entering last week, Alabama jumping up to number 2 in the AP Top 25 poll, and Auburn sitting at number 15. Let's get to the highlights. We start with number 1 Purdue at Michigan. First half, Boilermakers up 3. Zach Eaton turns and makes the hook shot, Purdue up 5. The Wolverines within striking distance all game, but could never quite make a run. Late second half, Boilermakers now up 7. Braden Smith drives for the layup. Purdue wins it 75-70. Let's move on to the team right behind Purdue, number 2 Alabama in Norman for the Big 12 SEC Challenge, facing unranked Oklahoma. Second half, Sooners up 16 on the break. Jalen Hill throws down the dunk. Hill with 26 points. The Sooners up 18. This one got ugly, folks. Bama falls 93-69. The Tide's 9-game winning streak comes to an end. They host Vandy next. Staying in Big 12 country, West Virginia hosting number 15 Auburn. The Tigers already lost to Texas A&M earlier in the week. Auburn legend Charles Barkley is in attendance, hoping to be a spark. Second half, Tigers down 3. Katie Johnson gets the steal and finishes with the layup plus the foul. Bob Huggins not happy. Later in the second half, Mountaineers up 1. Eric Stevenson hits the corner 3. Stevenson with 7 threes for 31 points. That would be the dagger. The Mountaineers win it 80-77. Auburn loses 2 in a row for the first time all season. It's time for some buckyball. Sanford entering last week undefeated in Southern Conference play at 8-0. The Bulldogs at Wofford Saturday. And after taking an early lead, Sanford would fall behind and have to play catch up. They've had a few big comebacks this season. Saturday wasn't one of them. Sanford falls 85-77. They also lost their other road game this week at Furman. Tough week for the Dogs. To our final team of the day, UAB Blazers were at Rice Saturday. And UAB really bringing it to the Owls on the road, up 18 at the half. UAB gets 20 apiece from KJ Buffin and Ladarius Brewer. Blazers are never really threatened. And how about this? UAB goes a perfect 2-0 this week, getting the 70-52 victory over a strong Rice team for the 900th win in program history. You can't think of a better segue than that for today's Tip-Off Club guest, UAB men's head basketball coach, Andy Kennedy.
Thank you to Joey Rogers. Thank you to Joey Rogers, who puts together the highlight package for us each week. You notice Joey said Bob Huggins unhappy on the sideline. Has Bob Huggins ever not been unhappy on a sideline?
It's hard to please.
Absolutely. Our next guest also needs no introduction. Probably should have made the trip to Norman, Oklahoma for the weekend. Might have been able to make a shot or two. Our resident brick expert, Jim Conrad.
Thank you, Andy. I want to congratulate Andy. It was mentioned, but Saturday was the 900th win for UAB in their program history. And you got beat by Rice a couple of weeks ago, I think, came back with a big win.
That was a couple of years ago, but who's counting?
I knew there was one time you got beat by Rice.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, I attended the first game in UAB history when they played. Who can tell me who they played? Nebraska. Pretty good recognition. They lost, but it was a good game.
Did they lose? I don't know.
Yeah, they lost, but it was a close game. For the first game, it was great. All right.
We're 1 for 2, Jim.
All right. All right. At our first meeting, I mentioned that Jelly Walker was leading the country in scoring average. And I asked the question, how did he get his nickname Jelly? And a couple of people said something about liking jelly sandwiches, but that's not it. And it is a basketball move that's referred to as jelly. Is that right?
It changes by the minute, John.
Anyway, I asked who knew what the jelly move was, and there were two people, including Kevin and Dick Coffey, that said they knew. I could not explain it, and I said, when Andy comes, I'm going to let you explain the move. So when you get up, please explain the move. Okay. I understand it's got some creativity to it.
That's what I understand as well.
Okay. Do I need to tell you what the move is?
No, sir.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Okay. All right. Now, we're going to get on to our winners and losers. On our loser bracket, third place, Mac Moore, 29%. I can't believe this, but second is Jim Conrad, 23%. But the winner of the brick, do you call that a winner or loser? Winner is Pete Shields. Is Pete here? Here he comes. Hey, Pete. Now, I want to announce Dick Coffey provides the brick. Don't take this home with you. Leave it at the front, Pete. Here you go.
His house is starting to lean a little bit.
Yeah. This is the third brick we're on in 4 meetings. So please don't take, Dick is getting tired of going by construction site. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. So I'm glad I did. Now we're on to the winner of the basketball. Third place, C.G. Glover, 52%. That's pretty good. Zach Riddle, 58%. The winner, Dick Coffey, 65%. Tell you what, if you'll leave the ball up here and we'll get Andy to sign it at the end of the meeting. Well, that's all I got today. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jim. Jim, did you know it's not just a move? There's a movement known as the Jelly Fam. And a member of the Jelly Fam is not just Jordan Walker at UAB, but Javon Quinterly at Alabama. One of the few things that Alabama and UAB have in common when it comes to basketball. Aside from the fact that they played once, and anyone know how that turned out?
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. So a few of us were there for that one. Now, to introduce our player of the week, a former Alabama player, continuing Alabama fan, who I assure you is not a fog, Wade Kaiser.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I was at that UAB game. I was redshirt. I had played no role. I did my part on the scout team. That's all I could do. Yeah, it is what it is. So today we're here to introduce, I appreciate Dick Coffey turning it over to me today so I can introduce Wynn Miller as our player of the week. And before we get to that, just say hello to his family back there and welcome them, Bud and Mary T and his grandfather also as well. Wynn is joined today by his coach, Patrick Davis, who's in his 7th year at Vestavia. His overall record, including Thompson, is 271 and 147, but 150 and 63 at Vestavia. He is no stranger to the club, was 2013 Tip-Off Club Coach of the Year. He was the sports writer, 7A Coach of the Year, and went to the Final Four that year as well with Vestavia. And he currently, along with Wynn, has our Vestavia Rebels in their rightful place as ranked #1 in 7A. Just read a little note that Coach said about Wynn. He said that Wynn has been a joy to coach over the last 4 years. He's a relentless worker, a great teammate, fully gets that high school athletic experience is about making memories. He's made many of them for himself and for others in the Vestavia community. I'm thankful. I'm incredibly thankful and that I've had the opportunity to coach him. I look forward to putting together a special ending to his high school career. So that's just a little something that Coach had to say about Wynn. I'm just going to tell you a little story myself that you probably don't even know either. But so being a guy that played at Vestavia and, I live in Vestavia. My kids go to Vestavia, went to Vestavia. Every now and then you hear about somebody, they'll come to you, hey, you heard about this kid? No, I hadn't heard about this kid. If he's not at the high school, I hadn't heard about it. So I hear, you heard about this Wynn Miller guy? No, who's Wynn Miller? Well, he's in 6th grade. He's dominating rec league. I'm like, what? He's in rec league? I mean, I know Andy's at all the rec league games, finding the next recruit, but I don't have time for that. So, but I'm not kidding. I mean, people will come up to me. You got to see this Wynn Miller guy. I'm like, I don't know about Wynn Miller. So one time when this came up, my brother was a part of the conversation, and Boyd was playing basketball at Sanford when Bud and Mary T were there, and my brother referred to Wynn as the fastest kid in 2nd grade. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What's going on here? So my niece Kate is Wynn's age, and I'm gonna be in the doghouse for sharing the story. But apparently, when she was in 2nd grade and Wynn was in 2nd grade, she came home very excited about the fastest kid in 2nd grade that was in her class or something. And Boyd referred to Wynn as the fastest kid in 2nd grade for many years after that. So his athleticism was not discovered by the rec league scouts that were there and telling me about it. It was by the 2nd grade girls. But so we fast forward, Wynn's in 7th grade, and I got referees coming up to me. I got some friends that are refs. They're like, man, have you seen this Wynn Miller guy? I'm like, no, I haven't seen him. Like, but you're a referee. I played basketball. I thought the referees hated me and were not only hated me, they were against me. They had an agenda. I mean, it was, they're talking about him and they love him. He goes on to 8th grade and he's playing JV. First Vestavia player that's ever done that, as far as I know. That was in middle school playing JVs, 4-year high school varsity guy. Just a few of us that have done that. And to be honest, he was our best player all 4 years. He is now our all-time leading scorer with over 1,900 points. He is our single game leading scorer with 44 points in a game back in December. Very familiar with those two things, as Scotty was mentioning, because he took them from me. But it's all right. I'm good with it. I'm happy for him. He's averaging 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists a game. He was 2nd team All-State as a sophomore, 1st team as a junior. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, probably going to repeat that this year. Signed to play with the University of Belmont University, next year, and has a great career ahead of him at the collegiate level. So today, just like to welcome Wynn to the club and give him this award for Player of the Week.
Thanks, Wade. Thank y'all for having me. I'm really honored to be up here before y'all. A lot of things to be thankful about. God's blessed me in so many ways. I owe everything to my parents. Just invest in everything they've invested in me. And Coach Davis, I mean, he's been with me for as long as I can remember. He's probably been with me more than his own family the last 4 years, I guess, especially his wife. My teammates, very thankful for them. They've been pushing me every day, and I wouldn't be here without them. And so many people to be thankful for that have gotten me where I am today, and really appreciate this award. I'm thankful to be up here before y'all. So thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for Wynn. Wynn, congratulations. And Wynn, never let anyone try to downplay any recognition you get, especially if it's from your peers. Being known as the fastest kid in the 2nd grade, that's nothing to sneeze at. I used to be known as the best sports writer in the state of Alabama. Now, if you've ever met Clyde Bolton or Al Van Hoos or Jimmy Bryant, et cetera, you know that's a low bar, but hey, I'll take it. What can I say about Andy Kennedy that hasn't already been said in jest or in anger by a lot of different people? I saw him score 41 points against St. Louis as a UAB player. I saw him coach the Blazers to a school record 27 victories a year ago. I've seen him do just amazing things as a player and a coach beyond those accomplishments. And we go back so far, he used to have hair and I had a lot more. So we've known each other a long time, but I still have questions. I'm not going to do the normal introduction here, Andy. I just have some questions. Did you really make your sister, who was 9 years younger than you, stay outside in the driveway and rebound for you until you made at least 100 free throws in a row? Is that true?
Yes, sir.
It sounds like something you would do. Did you really win a punt, pass, and kick competition when you were 8 years old?
Yes, sir.
I did it when I was 9.
Just 8, 9, and 10. You must be
I only did. I only have the one. I only have the one, but that trophy is in a prominent place in my home office. And did you? I just have one more question. Did you really scream at one of your Ole Miss players, maybe your first year in Oxford?
That's where you're going with this.
Don't steal my thunder, man. He actually yelled at a player, and there were about 400 or 500 people in the Tad Pad at the time. Justify your existence. And they think Bob Huggins is tough to play for. But seriously, let's say hello to a guy who never has to justify his existence to us, Andy Kennedy.
Thank you. Thank you. We get an extension cord. How'd you do this, Wade? It's always a pleasure to come and address this group. I've been doing it for a long time. I would say started out, maybe I think I even came back when I was the interim coach at Cincinnati, which was back in 2005, 6, and it's always a joy. I'm glad that it's back on a recovery. I know through COVID, everything kind of took a hiatus, and it's great to have this group back together. We need more basketball enthusiasts in this community, and I'm going to do my part. I was talking with Bill before. I'm going to do my part to try to continue to grow this internally through UAB people as well. A lot of great UAB people here, starting with my boss. Can we give Mark another round of applause? You got to understand the system of checks and balances. But a lot of great UAB people here, and I appreciate you guys. This season has been perplexing, to say the least, for me. I'll give you a kind of a brief summary of where we are and where I hope we're about to go. Start off the season at 12-2. We're 3-0 in the league. We had beaten 2 SEC opponents in Georgia and South Carolina for the first time in many, many moons. We were trending well. That kind of gave me flashbacks when I saw Auburn at West Virginia. And you know why Barkley was there? Do you know this story?
I do not.
Well, Barkley was there. Hugs didn't know him whatsoever, and I've got a relationship with Charles, and he wanted to bring him up. Hugs does a fundraiser. I think it's pretty ingenious. He does a fundraiser for cancer in honor of his mother. You know, they built a hospital there in the name of his mother, and they do a fish fry, and they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they brought Charles up to be the MC of the fish fry, and I'm sure he did a bang up job, and they did that before that game. So anyway, that's why Chuck was there. But I had flashbacks there. We went to West Virginia earlier in the year and played a very competitive West Virginia team and came out on the short end, and that was our last loss. We then reeled off 6 straight and got to Christmas feeling pretty good. We start conference play on the road at FAU, ironically enough, the same FAU that'll be visiting Bartow Arena Thursday night. I would love for you guys to be a part of that. It's the first top 20 opponent that has come into Bartow in quite some time. The last top 20 opponent beaten in Bartow was in 2013, believe it or not. So a huge opportunity for us. They're the hottest team in college basketball. having won 20 straight. So we go to beautiful Boca Raton, and we're up 6 with about 3 to play, and felt like we were giving ourselves a chance to win, and really kind of melted down at the end. It was a start of a 3-game losing streak for us. We lost 4 out of 5 by 1 possession. We lost 4 games by a total of 8 points. And in 3 of those 4 games, we were either tied or ahead with under a minute to play with the ball and did not get a shot. Wow. Talking about justifying your existence. I was talking to myself, Jim, like you do daily. I'm sure I had a lot of noise going on in my head, man. Like, what in the world? So then we find our way to kind of battle through that a little bit. And then the aforementioned Jelly Walker, who was leading the nation in scoring until you brought him up, the Jim Curse. Now he hadn't played in 5 games. I appreciate that, Jim. And so he gets hurt, and it's one of those injuries where you don't know. I don't know on Thursday. I'm not trying to handicap some of you bettors, and I know some of you out here are bettors. I'm not trying to put you at a disadvantage. I really don't know. We knew when he got hurt against Western Kentucky late in the game, he finished the game. Foot's bothering him, x-rays, everything's coming out clean. So we're just kind of waiting on him to tell us what's next. We go on a 2-game road trip to Louisiana Tech, and we were able to knock them off in our last trip ever, hopefully, Mark, to Ruston, Louisiana, as we're now moving to another conference. And then we went to Middle Tennessee, and that was a game that we lost by 1 in overtime by 1/10 of a second. We actually made the shot. I was sitting there as things were unfolding. I was having a conversation with a higher being than me and Jim. I was saying, "Oh God, please let us make this." And God answered. God answers prayers, and we did make it. I just wasn't specific enough. You know, they say be specific in your prayer. I wasn't quite specific enough because we were 1/10 of a second late. So we come back home, and Jelly was practicing with the team. Mark actually came down and watched, and actually was pretty excited about it. Had a little pop in his step and said, "Man, looks like Jelly's looks pretty good. He looks pretty good." I said, "Yeah, I think he does too." And so we go to the game, and he was actually in the scores book as a starter. And then he told me he couldn't go. We lose that game, and such is the trilogy of this season. We have now won 2 in a row, including at Rice. Jim, did you go to Rice? No. Have you had Rice before? Yes. I do too. We had a good plate full on Saturday. Bada bing. If you've ever seen their facility, they have Nobel Peace Prize winners as banners. Rhodes Scholars, real talk. They've got like their Rhodes Scholars and their Nobel Peace Prize winners prominently displayed in Tudor Fieldhouse, which has got to be, they've actually had a decent program. They've had some NBA guys. A guy named Ricky Pierce. You guys remember Ricky Pierce? Played at. Let me give you a story. You guys know Tommy Suits was at Dora High School. You know that name, right? Tommy Suits was his coach at Rice. Tommy Suits was the coach at Rice for Ricky Pierce. Really great player. Played for the Milwaukee Bucks for a number of years. And we talk about tradition. You said it up here. We won our 900th game at UAB on Saturday. Incredible. Really, when you step back and look at the history of UAB athletics, we're in our 45th season. We've been to 16 NCAA tournaments, and we've been to 12 NITs. So 28 of 44 years, we've been to an invited postseason tournament. It's pretty amazing, really, when you sit back and think about it. And I was looking at as we were playing Rice, they've been a basketball program for 109 years. And they've been to 4 NCAA tournaments. You know the last time they went there? I'll give you my car if somebody can get this one. That's a good guess. Boy, that's a good guess. You are sharp. 1969 is the last time that they had been to the NCAA tournament. So now I'm talking down the importance of that win. They had won 4 in a row, and they actually got probably their best team in some time. So we're sitting here at 15-7. We're in 4th place currently. We're not going to win the regular season championship. I hate to break that to everybody. FAU is undefeated in league play. I think at 12-0, 11-0. We've got 11-0. Yeah, we've got 9 league games left. So now our goal is very, very obvious. We're not going to be an at-large bid team. So our goal is to put ourselves in the best position forward to go to do what we did last year and try to win 3 games in 3 days in Frisco, Texas. And right now, with the current alignment of Conference USA, this is our last year in Conference USA until we move to the American Conference, which I think is going to do wonders for the platform by which it'll provide our program. Well, there's only 11 teams in the league because 6 of us are leaving next year to go to the American. But this year, Southern Miss, Old Dominion, and Marshall opted to leave a year early and go to the Sun Belt. And what, ironically enough, all of them are really thriving at the Sun Belt level. As a matter of fact, Southern Miss and Marshall are, I think, are 1 and 2 in that league currently. So we went to a 20-game schedule. Everybody goes to the conference tournament. So it's really odd. Typically, the top 4 teams would get a bye. This year, the top 5 teams. So our goal, I tell you all that to say, our goal is to finish the season strong so we get in bye territory and then hopefully go play our best basketball when our best basketball will be needed. It's funny to me at times somebody says, you know, you still plenty of time to peak, man. You want to be playing your best at the end. You know, let me tell you, let me give you guys a little insight. Coaches want to win every game. I don't go and say, well, we played good today, but I don't really want to play great because we got a game tomorrow. And boy, I hope we could just incrementally make an increase. It doesn't work like that in our business. You just never know what's going to happen as it relates to injuries, as it relates to a lot of different things. Momentum is real, and you've got to create it for yourself, and then you try to hold on to it as long as possible. But I do think that this team, I feel as if I've coached about 3 different units within the one. We still have not found ourselves, and each team honestly matures at a different rate. This is my 16th year doing this as a head coach. I have literally experienced most everything that you can as a coach, and yet this team has been perplexing as I opened with, just trying to figure out all of the dynamics, all of the pieces, transfer portal, NIL, many of the things we talked about when I was here last year. They're real in college athletics, and when you bring in, we have a 13 scholarship limit. We're currently operating on 12 of our 13. We're 1 under, and that was by design. And we brought in 6 new guys from the portal, 5 of which wouldn't even be in college if it wasn't for the COVID year. So they're older, they're established, they've had success at their various levels. Trying to get all of those people to understand sacrifice is necessary, to understand surrender. Not many of us are signing up for surrender daily, right? To get them to understand that we all must surrender in order for our team to be what I believe it's capable of being collectively. And I thought Saturday, without Jelly and without two of our other players, we dressed 9 scholarship guys. I thought it was probably the most complete game we had played. It was the calmest we had been. So I'm really excited to get to practice today and see the response moving forward with a huge opportunity. 3 of our next 4 at home, including a nationally ranked team on Thursday night in FAU. So I'm excited to be here. I always like to do this. That's kind of a brief overview. I just would like to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So I'd love to just have some questions and answers. And anybody but Jim, who's already given us a rice loss earlier, so I don't really want to go to that side of the room. But anybody else, any thoughts? Yes, sir. Well, you'd have to put me on a 4-second delay. Even the little snippet up there. I don't know if you're a lip reader, but I am. I can't say what he said on that little snippet. No, I love Hugs. He's my mentor in the game. I worked for him for 4 years. Learned a lot from him. Think about this. I've been so blessed. When I thought, congratulations, son, and I thought that you were very eloquent in your comments, and that we've all been so blessed. I've been really, really blessed. Think about this. I played for the late, great Jim Valvano and was a part of an ACC championship team. I played for the late, great Gene Bartow, 2 Hall of Fame guys. 2 guys, if they were in this room, would be on opposite ends of the spectrum, completely different in how they did their business, but winners. And then I've had the opportunity to work for Bob Huggins, who literally was just inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. So again, 3 guys that did it differently, but they all had one thing in common, and that was they were program builders. They transcended mere wins and losses. They built programs that lasted. So I've had the firsthand experience of being a part of some of that. Bob Huggins, everybody asked me, he's won 900. I'm sitting here today. I have coached 520 college basketball games. I think that's right. I think that's right. 520. Let's go with that. Close to it. And Bob Huggins, so I've coached like 500 and change. Bob Huggins has won like 920 games. I think he's the third all-time winningest coach active today. You know, he's not going to catch Krzyzewski, and Boeheim's going to try to coach, so he's older than Jim. He's just trying to tack a few more on there. But Hugs, I don't think will do that. But incredible. And people ask me all the time, well, how does he do it? How does he do it? How does his strength of will is so powerful? It's so powerful. He believes in what he believes in, and by God, that's what we're going to do. And I think he's got a good team. And college basketball's funny. You know, UConn, you must have jinxed them too, Jim. UConn was undefeated and #1 in the country. And they lost 5 out of 6 just like that. It happens. It happens. I know Bucky, a friend of mine. I've known Bucky since he was a kid, man. When I was an assistant for Murray Bartow, the judge would bring Bucky and the old Birmingham Ice over to the UAB basketball camp, which I was running back in those days. And I remember a young Bucky running up and down that court. So I'm real proud of all that he's accomplished here at Mountain Brook and what he's going to accomplish at Sanford. And I watch them, I follow them because I'm a fan and I want him to do well. And I saw what they lost 8 in a row and then turn around and won 8 in a row. I mean, it's a crazy business that we're in. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do anything else, Jim. But it's a crazy business. You just got to kind of stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. So that probably didn't answer your question. But Hugs is, I was telling, we played at 2 o'clock against Rice, and then we had some flight issues. It's not easy to fly anymore, is it? And we had some flight issues. So we were supposed to be home at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. We ended up getting home at 1:30 a.m. So we had some time to sit around and ponder. Thank goodness we won. And we were talking about some Bob Huggins stuff because we were actually watching the end of that game. But again, that's not for this room, unfortunately. Not everybody at once. Yes, sir. I told you I try not to look over here. I was afraid Jim would say something.
How do you decide on the substitution patterns? That seems like a very complex. How much time do the players get in there? Who do they play?
I tell you what, are you free this afternoon? Because my players want to know the same thing, especially their parents. Goodness gracious. There is, people got to understand this, and Coach can attest to it. At the end of the day, I'm trying to win all the games. And at the end of the day, I don't really care who plays. I just want to win the game. And I'm typically going to play the guys that are going to produce, that you can trust ultimately. We have a set pattern that we try to establish early, okay? Because I do think as a player myself, and I've been through the whole gamut. I was a transfer. I didn't play much on teams, and then I ended up being a pretty good player. And so I've kind of experienced both ends of the spectrum. And I think kids need to know when they're going in the game early. They need to know, okay, in about 12 minutes, I know I'm going in. So there's a pattern. So for about the first 10 to 12 minutes, it's pretty patterned based on what they have done in games, what they've done in practice, matchups for the opponent, so forth and so on. And then after that, it becomes, okay, so-and-so's picked up fouls, or he's fatigued, or he's not playing good, or he's talking to himself, or he's walked out the tunnel, or, he's passed it to the other team 6 straight times. And then you just kind of, that's where your experience comes in, and you make adjustments on the fly. Yes, sir. Well, I think it's going to give us a bigger platform. Ultimately as a coach, what I'm hoping for, last year we were somewhat in this position that FAU's in right now, but we weren't certainly to the level that they are. I think they're 21-1. And their hope is that they can try to stay unscathed to put themselves in a position that if they're not perfect in Frisco for the conference tournament, they have an opportunity to be an at-large team. That's what you want. You want to be in a league that if you have a good year and you're not perfect at your conference tournament, you still have the opportunity to be rewarded by getting to the NCAA tournament. I think the American will provide that for us. I also think that we'll be back embodied with ESPN, the worldwide leader, which will increase your platform. Right now, our TV stuff with Conference USA is kind of all over the map, and it's hard to find, okay, you certainly don't want fans to have to search for your games, and we're kind of in that situation right now, and that will go away. And we'll have an opportunity to bring back more names that I think this community will be excited about, obviously with the Memphis connection and a number of others. Temple, who's actually having a very good year, has had a really solid program. Tulane, SMU. There's a number of schools that I think people will look at and reflect differently than quite frankly they do for like an FAU. People don't say, when you see FAU, it doesn't conjure up much excitement. If we were playing Tulane, I think the name brand recognition would sell more tickets. However, FAU is a better team. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be a great boost for our program, honestly, and I'm looking forward to it. Recruiting wise, we signed three kids during the early period. The day and age, we're going to sign about 7 or 8. I mean, it's just this roster turnover is just going to be, it's just the way it is. We may sign as many as 10, many of which will be in the portal. And again, I'm not quite as dumb as I look. I am learning some lessons because this is really relatively young in the portal age of bringing in guys. And this team is teaching me some things that I'm going to employ moving forward. Yes, sir. Well, I think obviously Jim had a conversation with them. I mean, the Jim Curse, Jelly, UConn, I mean, we'll have to continue. He obviously had a conversation with somebody and said, let's send them the worst seeded team in the entire country in Houston. Thanks for that, Jim. Gift that keeps on giving. I think there's a lot of things that go into it. Numerically, there's a lot of things. But then when you deal with leagues like this year, it's going to be the Big 12 and the Big 10. They're going to get a lot of teams in, 7, 8, 9. And you have to, sometimes a team can be seeded a line lower or higher based on them trying to get balance throughout so that 2 conference foes don't meet too early. They try to avoid that at all costs. My hope for everybody in the community, my hope is that Alabama can finish strong, and I think they will. I think them and Tennessee, I think, are the 2 best teams in the SEC. I think that's been proven, and I think it'll be proven over the next 2 months. And it would be great to, obviously, if they were a 1, I think it's a no-brainer. They put them right here. But even as a 2, they could put them here. I don't think anything, I think as a 3, they're probably not going to put them here. So they need to finish in that top 8. And so, Jim, you don't mention them, please, over the next 2 months. And I think you guys will have an opportunity to have Alabama right here, which would be tremendous for the community, obviously. And what a great way to get Legacy Arena kicked back off in an NCAA tournament experience. Yes, ma'am. No, I agree. I think it's helped the Power Fives, honestly, because it's all about, her question was about net and how it was back in the day when I was at Ole Miss, for instance, for 12 years, the RPI was the common denominator, and that they've kind of done away with that. And people figure it out as they can scheme numbers. Well, now the net is just so heavily laid on quad 1, quad 2 records. And we've only even played 2 quad 2 teams. We'll play Thursday's our 3rd quad 1 opportunity. So you just don't have the abundance of opportunities that you do in Power 5 leagues. So I think I honestly think that the net system has helped the Power 5s and has hurt the smaller schools. I think, and Mark and I've had this conversation, and when you see the people, one of which is right across the street here, and Greg Sankey, one of the most prominent voices in intercollegiate athletics. When you see those type of people talking about this in earnest, I think that the NCAA tournament will expand. I'm for it expanding. I'm not for it expanding to an unlimited number. But when it was at 64 forever, there were only 200 and something teams. There's 363 Division I teams. And correct me if I'm wrong, but intercollegiate athletics was developed under the concept of providing opportunity for the student athlete. This has never been a more pro-student athlete time in the history of intercollegiate athletics. You can get paid now, you can do this, you can do that. It's really, there's no parameters on them hardly at all anymore. And yet we're not providing an opportunity. Only 19% of the teams, get a chance to play in the NCAA tournament. 19%. What is it in football? Almost 80, 70, 80% get opportunities to play in bowls. They don't even have enough teams to fill bowls. And I'm for that. Hey, man, it's about the experience. But I think we need to do that in college basketball, and I think it'll happen. I think we're sitting at 68. I think it'll grow to the 76 to 80 number, and I think it can be done efficiently. And I foresee that happening in the not so distant future. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a hard business. Recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. I've learned that if you don't do it every day, it's like shaving. If you don't shave every day, you'll eventually end up looking like a bum. And that's kind of what recruiting is. You better get good players. There are no levels of programs. There's levels of players. And obviously, I'm not as good a coach without Jelly. He's missed the last 5 games. I need him back, despite the curse of Jim. And I hope that we can get him back. But it's really affected it. I hate it. I'm glad to see this young man go to Belmont, and Casey's a friend and has done a great job. And I haven't had the pleasure of watching you play, but my feeling is you're going to be a great fit there. And high school recruiting has really taken a dip. Like we've only signed 1 high school kid per year. We signed 1 my first year. We signed 1 last year, and we've only signed 1 this year. I'm not saying we won't sign another, but it used to be you'd sign 6 or 7 because everybody's waiting for what will happen with this portal, with the free. It's basic free agency. Kids come, kids go. So, again, I'm not as dumb as I look. You would typically want to take an older kid that's got a little bit of experience, most especially as we're moving up in leagues. So I think it's really hurt high school recruiting with the transfer portal, and NIL is prominent in my world. It is the way that it is. It's what the expectation is now. And we've got to be competitive in that field, or we're not going to be competitive. So anybody want to contribute to that? That was a great segue. You got a hat? You wear a hat, Nick? You should. You got one? We can pass the hat. We need some NIL support. Oh, yes, sir. Sure. There, without question, there's 2 different games going on. There is legitimate NIL that people can explore, and then there are ways in which people are trying to fill teams. And in this part of the country, in the SEC, if you're not involved in that game at a pretty high level, then you're probably not going to like the results of your talent pool. And listen, we can all agree to disagree and say you like it or you don't like it. But it's like paying taxes. I'm not a big fan of paying taxes personally, but I pay them every year. Anything else?
Out of conference scheduling, what are you looking at for next year?
Out of conference scheduling. This has really been bizarre. This is my 3rd season. It really feels like my 2nd because COVID was so wild. And we just couldn't do anything that we had wanted to do, most especially when you come back. It's my alma mater. I've got a lot of pride. I came back here for a number of reasons. The first being Birmingham's always been my home away from home. And I coined the phrase the Bartow standard. And I mean that, I was a part of the early years when Coach was building this, and UAB basketball was really, really prominent in this community. And I've seen how this community will support it if you give it a product worthy of its support. And sometimes recreating momentum is harder than creating it originally, and we're learning that. But we went through COVID our first year. It was bizarre. Then went last year. We were still kind of hanging in there until about this time when fans started coming back. And fortunately for us, we had a great push at the end of the season. And then this year, as we're segueing into a new league next year, We really haven't had a lot of communication with that league, so we don't even know what that schedule looks like. It's hard to build your non-conference unless you know your conference. So we don't know what our conference schedule looks like, how many games or what the opponents might be. So therefore, it's been difficult to really dive into, we've got a few things in the offing, but it was funny in football, you're usually 4 or 5 years down the road. In basketball, it's 4 or 5 months. Everybody will be scrambling in the off season and trying to position yourself where, again, you want to give yourselves opportunity so that if you don't win your conference tournament, you've played yourself in a possibility as an at-large opportunity.
Will the American have divisions?
I don't know. I don't know if it's been determined, honestly, because of so much conjecture in the transition. Yes, sir.
You said that you had 6 transfers.
Correct.
What happens when you have 6 different people coming into a program?
I don't know if you noticed, but I left 2 kids home on Saturday, and it wasn't because they were hurt. So yeah, the attitude is a constant battle. It's a battle. It used to be, and I give this speech to every team that I've ever coached, that ultimately we pull out a jersey, and in the front of that jersey it says UAB, and we're all here. We all have to make sacrifices because we're all here to represent the name on the front of the jersey, and that comes with a standard. For me, it's the Gene Bartow standard. It's the UAB standard. There's ways in which that you have to conduct yourself on and off the floor in order to have the opportunity to represent UAB. And then on the back, it's your name. And it doesn't say Andy, it says Kennedy. That's my family's name. So now I am representing my family. And there's been, generations of people in that family that have afforded me the opportunity to be a part of this team. So we speak to that as well. And with this generation, again, no disrespect to Win, he's obviously the outlier, but it's just different. Winning is not the most important thing. It's not for me, it's not for my team, and it's not for Nate's team, and it's not for Bruce's team, and it's not for Bucky's team. It's just not, so you've just got to manage that as best you can and try to continue to convince these young people that winning is the platform by which opportunities present themselves. And that's what I'll be doing here in about an hour. Hopefully successfully. So Jim, please don't even think about me. Yes, sir.
Do you think what you did in the American conference at UAB and Memphis will be a home and home?
I certainly hope so. That would be an administrative question. And that's one that I don't want to speak for Mark, but obviously there's dialogue between athletic directors and the commissioner. And I think Mike Oresco is a stud. The commissioner of the AAC has a TV background. He was with CBS Sports, the one that negotiated this, multi-billion-dollar NCAA tournament contract. So he gets it, connected. I think he's got good vision. I think he can kind of see where this thing is heading. And so I know there's been a lot of dialogue, and we have been very adamant in our desire to play them as much as possible in everything. And so hopefully that will be well received. Okay. I know some of us got to go to work, Jim. I don't know about you for the rest of the afternoon, but I appreciate y'all's time. I do. And it's always a pleasure to come back and spend some time here. Bartow Arena, 6 o'clock Thursday, nationally ranked Florida Atlantic. Come be loud for the Blazers. Thank you.
Another great day. Want you to keep in mind, February 24th, make sure it's on your calendar. That is our squadron night. That was a big fun event for us last year. I'm sure we're going to be treated wonderfully again this year at the Legacy Arena for the squadron when we have that game on the 24th. And no meeting next week, but we'll be letting you know the meetings. The one meeting we do have firmed up is the one with the 3 members of the NCAA selection committee. It's a pleasure to have y'all here. And once again, if you don't like my lack of nonpartisanship, I still got to say it, go Blazers, just impeach me.